In this video, you'll learn about file handling settings in the Lightroom preferences. For most people, default settings are perfectly adequate, but it can't hurt to know what the options are. So under Lightroom, Preferences, or if you're on a PC, that would be Edit, Preferences. And I'm going to select now the File Handling tab. And import DNG creation is relevant when you're importing your RAW files, or JPEGs for that matter, into Lightroom, and you want to convert them to the DNG format. And we've covered this in another video having to do with import options. But let me just go quickly and briefly over the different options here. Under file extension, it's just a matter of preference. DNG has uppercase or lowercase. Compatibility, this is relevant if you're working with earlier versions of software that might require an earlier version of Camera Raw. JPEG preview, it's set to medium as default. But if you want to save a full-size preview of your image, that will actually make the image load very quickly in Lightroom because it doesn't have to generate a full-size preview. You select full size, and you're also, in a way, archiving your RAW file as a full-size JPEG that will exist within the DNG file format itself. Embed fast load data, that just increases the file size slightly, but the DNG will load a little quicker when you're adjusting settings in Lightroom. And then as far as embed original RAW file, if you want an entire version of your original file saved within the DNG package or container, if you will, you select this. This will obviously increase your file size greatly. But then in one package or one file, you'll have not only a DNG, which is this format that theoretically is universally readable long into the future, and you also have your proprietary either NEF for the Nikon format for the RAW or the CR2 for Canon. You'll also have that embedded there as well. Now, as far as reading metadata, this is something that will probably not be relevant to most of you, but you can change the way that keyword separators are handled. This is having to do with the metadata, obviously. For most of you, this is probably not going to be an issue. So under reading metadata, this is only relevant if you're creating keywords as hierarchies rather than flat keywords. So it's pretty self-explanatory. If you're working with the hierarchies, you can treat a period as a keyword separator, or you can treat a / as a keyword separator. And by default, it's a vertical bar is automatically recognized as a hierarchical separator. Most of you probably this is not going to be relevant. File name generation, again, this is probably not going to be relevant to most of you. Treat the following characters as illegal. You can also expand that to other characters that are illegal. And if they are illegal, in other words, if they're encountered when you are bringing in a file into Lightroom, then it will replace the illegal file name with either dash or underscore or similar characters, your choice. And when a file name has a space, you can either leave it as it is or replace with an underscore or replace with a dash. For most of you, this will not really be an issue. Now, getting down to the Camera Raw cache settings, this actually is pretty important and will affect the performance of Lightroom and the speed of your own workflow. As a default, Camera Raw cache settings are set to 1 GB. That's not very large if you're working with a large catalog. What that means is that it's going to cache, or it's going to put up to 1 GB of information into a cache, and then you'll have access to that information really quickly. So your previews will come up really fast, for example. If your previews are coming up very slow, you may be having a cache that's set too small, or you may be using a location, perhaps it's a hard drive on your laptop that runs pretty slow. So there's two things you can do here. One is you can choose another location for the cache, and that location could be an external hard drive, for example, that has a lot of room, a lot of space, and could be very fast. And you can also then bump up the size of your Camera Raw cache settings up to maybe 50 GB if you're running a huge catalog. Now, once the cache limit is reached, it automatically is purged, but you can purge the cache here even before it's reached its maximum size. And the same goes with the video cache settings. You can speed up the way that video is handled in Lightroom by selecting a higher maximum size cache, Again, you need to have the space on your hard drive, and you can also purge the cache before it reaches its maximum size. So there are your various options under file handling in Lightroom Preferences.